An American woman vanishes mid-tour in St. Martin, but new details suggest she may have done this intentionally. A teen is reportedly assaulted in Carnival's teen club. A Miami lawyer body slams a senior citizen. Royal Caribbean is ditching one thing we're used to at the end of your cruise for good, and construction delays threaten Royal Caribbean's new beach club opening, and a heartbreaking update on the Anna Kepner case. Hi, I'm Melissa, a university professor who loves to cruise and who loves to talk ship. Let's start with what I can only imagine is every cruiser's worst fear. A fellow passenger goes ashore for a day tour excursion and never comes back. That's what happened last week aboard Holland America's Rotterdam. The ship docked in St. Martin on November 20th, and 55-year-old passenger Ann Evans disembarked for a shore excursion. Now, this was an organized island tour, the kind that thousands of us take all the time every year. And at one stop, she got off the tour bus and just poof, vanished. She never made it back to the group, and she never made it back to the ship. Now, here's where it gets interesting. In an update just released a couple of days ago, authorities in St. Martin said that they now have reason to believe a woman matching Evans' description checked into a hotel on the French side of the island using her passport. She's also reportedly been seen in the surrounding area of that establishment. So this may not be a case of foul play after all. It might not be another Amy Bradley situation. It could just be a case of someone who intentionally chose to stay behind. Local authorities on both the French and Dutch sides are working to confirm the information, and Holland America has acknowledged the police report but is waiting for further confirmation. So we just gotta wait and see what really is the deal here. But even if Evans is safe, which hopefully she is, hopefully this was an intentional thing, although that's kind of still a bizarre move, it highlights how easy it can be to miss your ship, lose track of time, lose your group, things like that. So if you book a cruise line excursion and you go out on your own outside of the formal cruise group, you gotta make sure that you're mindful of your surroundings, you're mindful of time, because if you miss your return to ship time, they will not wait for you. And here's a great update on this story. The woman was found. According to a statement from St. Martin Police, following coordination between KPSM and other partners, contact has been made with the individual in question. In accordance with the laws governing privacy and the protection of personal data, no additional information will be released about the individual or their circumstances. So it's great news that she's been found. We may never know the true story here, but either way, I think everyone's just thankful that she's safe. Now, speaking of shore excursions gone wrong, here's another port safety story that you need to hear. I just always feel safe. I guess I have a lot of faith in my strength and ability to defend myself, but things do happen on cruises, as we learned in the Anna Kepner case, which I'll report updates here on in a moment, but we also have to be concerned for our safety in cruise port areas, especially with this case in point. A British couple in their 30s was attacked and robbed just minutes after leaving their cruise ship in Castries, St. Lucia, on Wednesday morning. Now, according to local reports, the couple was sightseeing around 11 a.m. when a young man confronted them, grabbed their bag containing jewelry, cell phones, and cash, and fled the scene. The couple was reportedly badly shaken when they spoke with police. The subject is still at large and the investigation is ongoing. And this comes just weeks after a 26-year-old British man was shot and killed in St. Lucia in late October. Now, the Foreign Office warns there's a continuing serious risk of homicides on the island. Usually crime is not targeting cruise passengers because these island destinations and their governments do realize that how dependent they are on tourism, specifically cruise tourism. And I personally love St. Lucia. I find it to be very safe. I don't love Castries, so if you are taking a cruise to St. Lucia, I recommend getting out of Castries and taking a taxi or taking a cruise line excursion out of there. It's a great spot for a beach day. I also have a St. Lucia guide I'll drop down below. But if you are planning to visit St. Lucia, don't let this scare you away. Yes, you have to be vigilant. Yes, these stories can be alarming, but there are thousands of cruise visitors there every single day that have zero issue. Just follow practical advice. Stick to well-populated areas. Don't go around flashing your valuables. Don't go off the beaten path. Don't follow people looking for less than authentic luxury goods down side alleys. And if you are super concerned about safety, your best bet is to book an official cruise line excursion. And speaking of assaults, not only do they happen at cruise port locations, but they can happen on ships as well. It's been a very violent week in cruise world, I am sad to say. According to multiple passengers and a leaked letter from Carnival, an adult male reportedly assaulted a teenage boy inside the ship's teen club, which is Club 02. This happened around 9:30 p.m. on November 22nd. Now, a passenger who claims to have overheard the suspect beforehand claims that he overheard this man saying regarding the victim that he's going to beat his ass and throw him off the ship. The teenager was badly injured, according to eyewitnesses. Now, Carnival responded by placing the adult under 24/7 security watch, which I call stateroom jail. I've seen people confined to stateroom jails. Cruise ships actually have an actual holding cell cell down in the bowels of the ship. But for some offenses, you just get put in stateroom jail, and basically they put a chair and a security guard outside and you can't leave, and they just feed you with room service. So apparently that's what happened here. He got sent to stateroom jail. And they did send a letter to guests on that cruise urging them to not share footage of the incident, of course citing the privacy of minors. But I'm sure Carnival just doesn't want the bad look because assaults and fights and things are not uncommon. And I love Carnival, but let's just be real here. But here's where it gets worse. The next morning, Carnival said that the assailant would be removed at the next port stop in Turks and Caicos. But as of a day later, anonymous guests are saying online that this man is still on board. So there's no official confirmation yet whether the FBI or Miami-Dade police were contacted. So we just have to wait and see. But the rumor mill is in overdrive on this one, and some things that I've heard, again, take it with a huge grain of salt, is that this teen was kind of harassing a young girl, and this was a dad protecting his daughter. That's one thing I heard. Who knows if it's true or not, but definitely some drama popping off with Carnival. And side note, Carnival just topped the industry in reported onboard crimes for Q3. So it happened, and no, I don't think Carnival is unsafe. I'm still Carnival's #1 fan, but things do happen. And now to the worst crime of all on a cruise ship, a homicide. And I'm talking about the case of 18-year-old Anna Kepner. It's a case that I've been updating on weekly, and in case you haven't heard, Anna is a Florida teen who was found dead under her stateroom bed aboard Carnival Horizon. So this has absolutely had Cruise World in overdrive with conversation and speculation and discussion, because not only is it a tragic case, it's kind of a wild case. And the more we're starting to hear about it, unofficially through the rumor mill, and now even officially, just really blows a lot of our minds. Now, after weeks of speculation, the cause of death has been confirmed by authorities. So this is kind of the new information. It's mechanical asphyxia from a bar hold. Now, I am not a violent person or a wrestling person, so I wasn't sure what that was, but it means an arm across the neck. Investigators say her body was wrapped in a blanket and covered with life vest and shoved underneath the bed. Now, this is stuff that we have known, but the cause of death officially is the new information. And if you're new to this case, you probably don't know that the #1 suspect is her stepbrother. And what's really disturbing is that the information that's coming to light about Anna's family is raising a lot of eyebrows. According to court documents obtained by the Daily Mail, so take that with a huge salt shaker of salt, Anna's blended family situation was really intense. It was really volatile. It was really tumultuous. Apparently, one of her stepbrothers allegedly at one point tried to jump out of a moving car to avoid living in the household. That's how crazy this household has been. And her mother had recently relocated the kids to live with a new partner, and there's like a couple of stepmoms, and then the bio mom is not invited to the funeral. It's absolutely bananas. So again, I'm trying to be really careful not to speculate on things. The rumor mill is in absolute overdrive, but even the official information that's coming out and confirming officially the things that authorities are willing to share, it's absolutely crazy. And this is definitely going to be the stuff of documentaries in the future as this whole tragic case unfolds. Now, while that investigation continues, cruisers in Tampa face their own form of chaos this week thanks to weather delays that spiraled into hours of frustration. Thick fog stalled 2 ships trying to dock at Port Tampa Bay, Carnival Paradise and Margaritaville at Sea Islander. Passengers were stuck on board for hours, and one woman said that her ship was scheduled to dock at 8 a.m., but did not release guests until 6 p.m. Others waiting to board their cruise were stuck outside the terminal with their luggage all day. There were reports of some chaos, line cutting, crowd control issues, people acting a fool, people trying to act as their own security, so it was apparently just super dramatic. Now, to make matters more interesting, just days earlier, Carnival had announced that Carnival Spirit, not my favorite ship, I just sailed that in Alaska this summer. Not the best. But Carnival announced that Carnival Spirit will home port in Tampa starting in 2027, offering longer cruises to destinations like Belize, Aruba, and Panama Canal, which is great news for Tampa, unless the fog keeps up. So here's my tip. If you're cruising in or out of Tampa, great cruise port, usually nice and small and easy, and I like the airports there. But if you're cruising in or out of Tampa from November through February, build in a buffer day because fog is common here, delays happen, and if you have a really tight flight home or you play silly games and you fly in the day of your cruise, you're kind of playing with fire. Now, meanwhile, in another shipboard headline, a Miami lawyer is facing felony charges after allegedly body slamming a 67-year-old man during a fight aboard Norwegian Encore. See, fights don't just happen on Carnival and Royal Caribbean. This is Norwegian. And it's not just young drunk people. This is a 67-year-old man. Now, according to police reports, the attorney, Philip Ortiz, was trying to enter a restricted hallway when the victim, another passenger, told him he could not go in. Ortiz allegedly responded with profanity and then shoved this guy. Now, when the victim pushed back after Ortiz's wife joined in, Ortiz allegedly tripped the man, sending him headfirst into the floor and knocking him unconscious. Passengers had to perform CPR, and Ortiz just walked away, allegedly. He was later arrested and charged with battery on a senior. And yes, he was wearing an anti-suicide vest during his hearing. The judge declined to charge aggravated battery due to a lack of permanent injury, but the case is still active. This is a wild case. This man sounds absolutely Looney Tunes. But now let's shift gears to something less violent. Man, it's violence on violence on violence. So this isn't violent, but it's annoying for some cruisers, but not all. Royal Caribbean is officially now going paperless with your final bill. Starting December 15th of 2025, so just in a few weeks, Royal Caribbean will no longer leave a printed copy of your invoice outside your cabin on debarkation morning. And in my case, I often overindulge in the casino and I don't want to see it. It's like, don't ask, don't tell. I'm just going to pretend like I don't have a bill. Now instead, you'll need to check on your folio through the Royal Caribbean app, or you can request it via email, pick up a printed copy at guest services, or you can view it on your stateroom TV. Now, this is part of Royal Caribbean's broader push to moving toward digital everything. E-docs, the Set Sail Pass, digital cruise compass, and it really does make sense. Most of us are on our phones using the app throughout the cruise anyway. Now, here's the catch though. If you're someone who likes to review your charges the night before you leave, again, that's not me, don't even want to see it, make sure you've got the app downloaded and you're logged in. Because while it is nice to ignore that bill and pretend like it doesn't exist, it does exist, and it is important that you go through it and you check it, because if there is a billing dispute or a mistake, you gotta deal with it when you're on the cruise ship. Trust me, I've tried to resolve things after the fact and it's next to impossible. So you usually just have to eat those erroneous charges. Now, one more thing to note, Royal Caribbean will only keep digital copies of your folio for 7 years. So I can't imagine ever needing to go back that far, but if you ever do need a receipt for a cruise that you took beyond 7 years ago, you're SOL. And finally, another Royal Caribbean annoyance, this time regarding their new Royal Beach Club Paradise Island. All right, I'm not one to say I told you so. My boyfriend would disagree, my kids would disagree, but I told you so. I was just in Nassau a few weeks ago. I was docked right in view of Royal Beach Club. It was very much under construction, and I posted on Facebook and said, there is no way this thing is gonna be done by December. No way. People tried to argue with me, but I was right. Anyway, this club was supposed to open on December 27th, but the cruise line pushed the date up to December 23rd, trying to get ahead of the holidays and maximize their profit, and that might have been just a little too ambitious. Royal Caribbean has already canceled at least one preview visit that was scheduled for December 15th aboard Symphony of the Seas, citing ongoing construction. Guests who were invited to experience the resort early received a letter saying, sorry, construction is still in process, and while the island is shaping up beautifully, it's not quite ready for guests yet, even apparently for a preview. Now, other ships scheduled to visit Nassau in mid-December, including Wonder of the Seas, Radiance of the Seas, Freedom of the Seas, and Allure, could see their previews canceled as well. So as of now, the official opening date of December 23rd has not been delayed, but being that I was just there, and I could visually see with my own two special eyes how much work they have to do, I'll be shocked if they're open by then, but maybe I'm wrong. You can come back and tell me if I am. Now, once the resort does open, day passes will start at an eye-watering $109.99 for kids ages 4 to 12 and $129.99 for adults. Now, whether it remains worth the price of admission remains to be seen, especially if they're still wrapping up construction while guests are walking around. Now, I'm skeptical about whether it will be worth it or not, especially because there are already some really great beach day pass resort options in Nassau, some of them all inclusive, for half, yes, half that price. But I always like to keep an open mind. We'll just have to wait and see.